Mayor, you're live.
Everybody in frame? All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final Madison City Council meeting for 2021. Today is Tuesday, December 21st. And we have a great agenda for tonight. Some of it's cleanup, but there's other parts that are fantastic, and look forward to the meeting and welcome everybody here tonight. We'll start by rising, removing our hats, and bowing our heads and reciting the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get into the agenda. Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to welcome all of our fantastic officers from the Madison Police Department who are here tonight. And I'll invite Chief Wallace up to the podium, please, for the swearing in of our newest officer, Megan Kloss. Oh, roll call before we start. Oh, sorry, roll call. You're all here. You're all here. Minutes, oh, they're all here. I'm sorry, I got excited about the agenda.
They all look like they're here. They look great, too.
Fantastic.
Here. Council, Merry Christmas.
Andresillo. Here.
Oh, sorry.
Bartlett.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Rampy.
Here.
Lucy DeTillo.
Here.
Tenos. Here.
Council, we had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting, which was dated December the 7th. There are no amendments, and entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Now let's get on to what we really
I
came
was
here.
excited too, Mayor.
What we really came here for. What we really came here for.
Good afternoon, Council. Merry Christmas. It is a special afternoon for us as we swear in our newest officer, Megan Kloss, who joined our department on August 22nd of 21. She's already been a graduate. You can come to this reverse. She's a graduate of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy as of December 9th of this year. And she has now begun her field training process and program with our 4 field training officers, which one of them are here tonight, Chad Winger. So, yeah. He's kind of a fan favorite. So we're thrilled to have several other officers with us. And at this point in time, I would like to invite Megan and her husband Ethan up front. And actually, I'd like to have all the officers, if you would, come up front with Dave. Dave, would you come up with us as well, our president of our Bear Board, and join us as we swear in Megan. Megan, you want to say
Have you stand right there in front of me and raise your right hand, please. And if everybody wants to either gather behind her or behind me, whatever you feel comfortable with. All right. Repeat after me. I, Megan Kloss,
I, Megan Kloss,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of a police officer for the Madison Police Department to the best of my ability and according to law, so help me God.
and according to the law, so help me God.
Congratulations. Sign right there. Congratulations again, Megan.
If I could, I'd like to have her husband Ethan pin the badge on her. And Ethan, if you want to have a long, happy marriage, I would say.
No pressure.
No pressure. That's right. We've seen some pressurized pinnings over the years, haven't we? came to us from the Department of Corrections, where she was a ranking officer and also an instructor there. So she brings a lot of qualities and credentials really related to the law enforcement field to us, and we're very excited to have her. She's going to be a great fit for our department, and I think she's going to serve our citizens very well. So congratulations.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it. Tell you, we are fortunate to live in a community like Madison where, A, we place such a priority on public safety, but we really mean it, and it's because of our officers and our firemen, our first responders, all of those in our community who are rushing to our aid at often the worst time of our lives. So we're very, very grateful for them and their leadership. It's also a pleasure to provide this next recognition because it's rare in my 2 years here as mayor now and with this city council to recognize the service of somebody who has worked for the city of Madison for such a long time and committed literally almost your entire life to serving the community. And so right now I'd like to present this award to Cathy Hale. And Cathy, what this says is presented to Cathy Hale in appreciation for your outstanding dedication to the City of Madison Port Authority for over 43 years of service, from 1978 to December 31st, 2021, presented today on December 21st, 2021 by Mayor Bob Courtney and Madison City Council. Cathy, congratulations. Introduce your team who's here today.
All right, we have Adam Robillard, who's just standing. He's the general manager. We have Casey Good, who is director of railroad services. We have Chris Bronner, who is one of our crew. We have another gentleman that is at home recuperating, and another one, Ira's on vacation. So other than that, we have one more. So you're seeing 4 of the 7. And I started my career back in the Dr. Rucker days. So I believe this is the 7th administration. And with every new administration that's come in, as the years have gone on, it starts out, it seems like, just maybe a little bit rocky because I perhaps might be like a mother bear protecting her cub. And Mayor Courtney was no different. 2 years ago, he may have had the firing squad here, but today I think we can say we can part as friends, and that we've come to learn and know each other and respect each other. So I'd like to thank you for the role that you've played in coming forward. And we were out, Casey and myself and Adam. Well, Adam was in the locomotive because we were shorthanded, but we took our newest board member out, David Terrell, and he spent 5 hours with us, and I think he's going to be a great addition. He seems very interested. And I would like to say that none of us could have done it without the terrific board members. Most of all, I'd like to recognize Spence Schneider, who's no longer with us, that passed away about a year ago. And Spence was responsible for passing the legislation that created the Port Authority and had the foresight, along with Dr. Rucker and some of the others, to save the railroad. And it was rocky, and I think the key thing that got us over the hump was the acquisition of the Jefferson Proving Ground, and that turned us from being in the red to the black. And we do a lot of car storage there. In the past, we've invited a lot of you to come out and take a look at what we do. That invitation is always open. We're building a $5.5 million bridge as we speak. Love to show you what we do there because each and every one of you is a part of that. The railroad is owned by the city, operated by the City of Madison Port Authority, and so every citizen, every council member is a direct part of that, and we're proud to show up what we do. And it's been my privilege, my pleasure. Our long-serving chairman, Jerry Thady, retired 2 years ago. Larry Keith, Tom Solomon, those are some of the people that I can say have served many, many years, as many as 30 years on our board. And without them, we couldn't have done it. And I've been blessed to have a great career here locally, to be able to raise my family. 2 years ago, built a new home downtown behind the marina. I'm a part of the downtown area now. I love it. Looking forward to retiring
and getting a golf cart and driving around like the rest of them.
Kathy, I just want to also just echo a highly qualified board at the Port Authority, and I'm looking forward to, again, just seeing the continued development of our railroad and the contribution it makes to our local economy. For the size of our community, to have a railroad, to have a board of aviation commissioners, to have a park system that is as comprehensive as ours, I think it's just fantastic for the quality of life that we have here, but also the economic development that it brings to our community. It's critical to support our industry and our businesses and our tourism, and again, it's just one of those things that I think makes Madison very unique. So, Kathy, congratulations on your retirement. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Nothing.
Well, she said you're going to go to Disney or someplace like that.
Well, my brother does have a house in Florida.
Well, congratulations again. We're going to miss you. I know that you're going to continue to consult and work for the Port Authority and the railroad, so we're not losing Kathy entirely. She'll always be there for us, and she's a downtowner now, so
I am.
she's not moving away from the community. We appreciate that. Thanks again, Kathy.
Thank you. Madison's home.
All right, moving in, we have some business to take care of tonight, which we'll turn it over to Joe relative to our resolutions for some year-end transfers, and Deputy Mayor McGee's here to answer any questions that might arise from those.
I have a clerical error, and I don't know if we can do what we need to do or not, but there were 3 other resolutions, transfer resolutions that we had for Tammy Nicole to put on the agenda. And I thought she'd already done it. I gave her mine today, and only mine made it on the agenda. So can we go ahead and do these 3 for Nicole?
It's totally up to the council if they want to. I don't see any issue with it. This is end of the year housekeeping stuff.
Yes. I apologize.
End of the year housekeeping stuff. So if there's no objection, then we'll add them to the list.
So I just handed you my 3 resolutions. They're pretty cut and dry, but we're asking to transfer funds into 3 different grant fund accounts. Most of the funds are coming from professional services budget line items within my department current appropriated budget. So I'll just kind of go over these, and then you can ask questions if there are any. One of the resolutions is transferring funds to the National Trust Grant Fund. These are from professional fees, engineering services, and mowing. The purpose is to retain those funds in order to match the requirement for that grant. That grant is going to be used to work on the upstairs portion of City Hall in order to expand offices. The second is transferring funds to Historic Preservation Fund, all from professional fees. Again, this is to match that grant as required. Those are federal funds that will be matching. That grant is to work on the historic district guidelines. We have a current contractor on retainer for that project. He's already started work. He's been here once to meet with the historic board and is continuing to work on that project. But that's to update their guidelines. And then the final one is to move funds into the Indiana Humanities Grant NRO fund from professional fees and community events. This fund is to work on the Preservation Quest grant. If you have seen little QR codes around town, I believe there are 6 buildings now. Fountain Building being one of those, Mad Paddle being another. It's just kind of a nice little trivia thing that you can pull up and get history about each of those buildings. But that amount covers our match for that. The amount from community events is funds that were put in that we reimbursed from the Indiana Humanities already, and so we're just moving those into the fund that it needs to go into to pay for, that work.
So are these 85, 86, and 87?
In that same order, yes, that would be right. The same order that Nicole presented.
So why don't we just kind of, if possible, we can just do this all to match? If the council doesn't have any objections to that. So let me just read through these, and, so these are gonna be resolutions number 2021-76 through 87. And we'll just kind of go through, because all of them state the same in the beginning. Whereas a circumstances developed since the 2021 annual budget adoption is now necessary to transfer certain funds among the original appropriations. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, that the following certain funds are transferred. And the first one is from the Winter Shelter Fund, $9,656 to the Community Compassion Fund. The next is from rainy day materials and supplies, that's $99,382.76. Employee insurance, $40,000. Health clinic, $3,000. And uniforms, $1,000 to Parks NRO, $143,382. Next is from county tax, building structure to materials and supplies, $102.18. Lit public safety, overtime and fire vehicles to police vehicles, $11,400, and fuel allowance, $5,000. CCD, general improvement to repairs and maintenance of $98.64. Economic development, travel to economic development miscellaneous, $355.39. Riverboat materials and supplies to education, $4,212.50, and community relations, it's a total of $4,525 transferred out of education, subs and dues, travel, temp help to social media. The next one is from lit public safety, from fire vehicles, $12,000, and fire EQ reserve, $20,000 to the fire department fund, to the scuba fund, $32,000. The next is rainy day materials, $10,000 to temporary help, $10,000. The next is from CC Group Insurance HRA, $49,000. MBH Group Insurance HRA, $3,000. Park General Group Insurance HRA, $11,000. Ava Group Insurance HRA, $2,000. WTR Health Insurance, $3,000. SWR AD and health insurance, $6,000, all to the HRA Insurance Reserve Fund, $74,000. From rainy day materials and supplies, $44,000, $79.63 to equipment reserve. Next is county tax employer training, $60,000. County tax demolition, $1,000. Riverboat distribution demolition, $1,000. PPD demolition, $2,500 to the unsafe building fund of $64,500. And then, let's see here.
These are all the rainy day.
Okay, these, the next one is all from, to be transferred to the city's rainy day fund, and that's $82,805. From DOC contracts, $2,500 from small business, $3,800 from senior citizens, $41,900 from property insurance, from the BPW budget, $6,000 from miscellaneous materials, and $75,000 from electric, and from the economic development budget, $19,700 from economic impact, $22,000 from the director, and $7,000 from outreach.
More on the back, Joe. There's more on the back.
Well, somehow I did not.
That's all we have.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Okay, and let me just figure out, I can get copies
So it was 3 line items. Okay. From the police budget, 50,000. From more police budget, 7,500 to the evidence clerk, or from the evidence clerk fund. From PPD budget, $1,900 from training, $6,400 from travel, $1,500 from office supplies, $1,100 from official records. From the law budget, $750 from secretarial, and from the county tax budget, $10,000 from reserve, $3,700 from building and structure, and $17,000 from economic. All for a total of $360,555 to be transferred to the rainy day fund. The next are the three that Nicole mentioned. From PPD professional fees, $292.05. PPD engineering services, $100. PPD mowing, $7,000 to the National Trust Grant Fund, $7,392.05. From PPD professional fees, $17,842 to Historic Preservation Fund, $17,842. And from PPD professional fees, $1,319.06. And community events, $3,015 to Indiana Humanities Grant NRO, $1,634.06. Again, those are resolutions number 2021, numbers 76 to 87. And if there's one that you want to take out, we can do that, but if there's not, I would just say that you should approve them in batch.
I'm happy to answer any questions. I know it's a
So-
lot.
It is a lot, I'm sorry. I just have never seen this much at the end of the year, so kind of explain to me, help me understand what all this is
Yep,
about.
happy to. So, you'll see several things in there. A lot of it has to do with salaries, and like temp helplines, because, you know, we've hired some people, we've had people move departments. So where it was appropriated in one department, we started paying them out of the new department. Some of it is just cleaning up those types of salary line items. A lot of them are small numbers where it's just the cleaning up negative balances at year end. We just got a final report Friday about 4 o'clock after all bills were paid for the year. So you kind of have to take it at that point and go through every line item and see where the little negatives are and find somewhere to copy. The ones that aren't within those same appropriation numbers have to go before you, so a lot of them are that. Some of this is like the HRA reserve fund, thank you. Those are funds that are appropriated for that purpose, for HRA, that I need to transfer into the reserve fund so that, when they pull the HRA funds, they're there. That is something I can do.
Nicole's, that she was talking about basically?
Those were mine.
Oh, okay.
Nicole's are more, trying to capture her money for grant matching.
Okay.
Some of this, the rainy day, you'll remember we did that last year. Last year, I think we captured about 550,000 of unused appropriations to put in rainy day because we had CARES Act money that came in.
Yeah.
So this year, we're capturing less than that, but there are still capital projects and things that we would like to be able to do. So we're also, the $99,000 to the Parks NRO, that is actually the profit that Campground made this year. They made $99,000, but because of the way the accounting works in the Parks General Fund, we can't pull $99,000 out of there. So we're gonna take it out of rainy day and put it in their NRO for the campground so that we can make campground improvements next spring.
And Councilman, you also have situations where, let's use the DOC as an example, where there's a large amount that was appropriated, unspent, because DOC didn't have crews out for a large part of the year. Or we had some savings in personnel because we didn't hire the person we thought, or there might be a situation where a person leaves and it takes longer to replace them. Variety of things.
Yes.
So under resolution 84, under economic development budget, are we not backfilling the director position?
That would have came out of professional service fees.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
different line item.
Okay.
Can you, go over again the campground profit?
Sure. So, last year, remember, we asked you to set up, some sub-funds within parks for the campground, the golf course, and Rucker, I believe it was.
Okay.
So as those properties, we are tracking revenue and
Crystal
expenses. I'm sorry?
Crystal Beach was the third one.
Crystal Beach. We're tracking revenue and expenses, so, internally, we know what the actual profit was, if there was one, for each facility. Campground has made money 2 years in a row. Last year it was 55, and we transferred $55,000 into that sub-fund. This year, it was $99,000. So, we are gonna transfer that. But because of the way, you know, we appropriate money into the Parks General Fund, and we appropriate money into the Parks NRO. Revenue goes into their general fund. But because there are losses in other facilities, you can't pull it
All
back
gets
out.
washed into one big account. And now what we're doing is taking the accounting and saying we did account for the profits there. We still need to improve our internal accounting on how we account for our operations. Our system isn't quite there yet. So manually, we're calculating our profit and loss for the golf course, for the campground, and for Crystal Beach. Eventually, the goal is have our systems do it.
Yeah, we're looking at profitability by facility,
Okay.
instead of
that's
one
where-
big budget where it
yeah,
all
that's
gets
where my
washed out.
confusion was.
But we don't feel like it's right to say to the campground, we can't give you your $99,000 profit, so we're gonna take it out of rainy day and make sure that they can do the improvements they need.
And then what's the community of connection fund?
So it is, a fund that is funded by donations or, money that, we put in there like this for, specifically for emergency relief.
We were using it for warming shelter expenses to support the Salvation Army on via the agreement we have with the memorandum of understanding. When we had flood issues, we could use it out of that, and that's a combination of private donations and money that was appropriated.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Minnie?
Can I just ask this one?
Of course.
For sure, I'm not an accountant. The world knows that. If at the new budget, we have $50,000 in rainy day, and we roll over to our new budget, if there's still monies there, that money just, it stays in those accounts.
Yes.
That is,
Certain ones do, certain don't. If it's a non-reverting fund like rainy day
right.
or riverboat, the Parks NRO, those do not go away. But anything in the general, if we don't transfer it over, the appropriations will go away. They're still in the general fund reserve, they can be reappropriated next year, but otherwise we start with what you appropriated in our budget.
So then what we're saying is in the future, and Mr. Mayor, you can help with this as well. If we take this money out of rainy day and we put it towards what we know is a profitable venture, are we then for the next budget putting that money back into rainy day, or are we just taking rainy day from where it
No.
is?
It's, the rainy day would be like a bucket.
Right.
Rainy day is a fund that will accumulate dollar amounts
Right.
or we spend from it.
But I mean, are we, for the following year, are we gonna say, oh, we took that money out of here?
Now we'll work on a whole new clean slate of appropriations. We'll do the same exercise a year from now, which is kind of balance out the appropriations so there's nothing negative. And we'll put it into the specific funds that we want to have it, and we can spend it later from that fund.
And that's why we transfer into the rainy day at year end. You know, if there's excess funds that, you know, for one reason or, like DOC, I wanted to capture that money because it was appropriated for their use. They have not sent me a bill for this year, but I don't know if they're going to or not. We've had their cruise for several weeks, spring and fall. I haven't received a bill, but we may. I don't wanna be short in next year's appropriation for them if we get them all year, because we had to pay a bill from this year. So I'll transfer that over, and I earmark it. In rainy day, I transferred some of the stuff for police, because they have some things. It goes into rainy day, because I can spend it out of there, but I have a spreadsheet, and I've earmarked the funds for police that I transferred, and what that's for.
additional questions for Mindy?
We do need a motion and a second.
I move that we approve resolutions 2021-76 through 2021-87 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We've had a fair amount of comment from the council. Is there any public comment? Any further questions from the council? Roll call, please.
Krebs,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Dan DeFilip,
Yes.
Rampy,
Yes.
Chatham,
Yes.
Lucy DeTillo,
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mindy. Moving on, we have reports, recommendations, and other business from the Standing Select Study Committees of City Council, and I think on the agenda tonight we have board appointments as well, so Madam President, I'll turn it over to you.
We would like to make 3 board appointments this evening. We would like to reappoint Curtis Chatham to the Jefferson County Board of Tourism. We would like to reappoint Lucy DeTillo to VMI. And we would like to reappoint Jim Bartlett to the PACE Committee.
So you're making that in form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second.
Second. Any discussion?
I think Jim had shown some interest in the Board of Tourism. He qualifies with his business. Can we appoint Jim to the Board of Tourism as well?
There's a pause for that.
I didn't hear what you said.
So there's a pause for that.
Your appointment to the Board of Tourism.
Just for the Jefferson County Board of Tourism.
I'm willing and prepared to serve if I'm appointed though.
Okay.
So, you want to amend your motion?
We could amend the motion to include Jim Bartlett to the Jefferson County Board of Tourism.
Second. Second, motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Council, also on the agenda were 4 reappointments to the Human Relations Commission by the mayor with the ordinance requiring council advice and consent. So I'll turn that over to you as well. You have 4 nominees here: Tony Schroeder, Jessica McAllister, Bill Johnson, and Katie Abbott.
The motion?
Sure, yeah, you can.
Or do we need
Yeah,
to?
just go ahead. It's not hurt anything. It's advice and consent. I've never really understood what that is really supposed to mean, so, but I think to give consent, you might as well do a motion to approve those, or to accept those appointments.
Well, then I'll move to accept those appointments.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. Council, we still have some appointments we need to work on, such as PACE, Historic District Board of Review, a couple of openings on Human Relations Commission still. So we'll continue to work and collaborate on finding additional volunteers. And I want to thank everybody who is serving on one of our volunteer boards and committees. It takes about 130 volunteers across the city to fill all of our spots on our boards and committees. And without you, the work of the city and Jefferson County in many respects would be much more difficult, and certainly would be quite a challenge. So moving on, we do have a report of a city official tonight. I'd like to invite Brian Jackson, our utility superintendent, to give you an update on our current Jefferson County Clean Drinking Water project and the rate study.
Yeah, as you all know, we've been working on the water rate study and subsequent water rate increase. Last Wednesday, the mayor, Shermer Barber Mulligan, and I met to discuss the annual revenue requirements needed by the water department and the resultant increase in the user rates that will be necessary to fund those requirements. On Thursday, December 16th, we received a letter from Shermer Barber Mulligan summarizing our discussions on Wednesday, and you all should have a copy of that letter in your file. Basically, I'm just going to give you a summation of what it says. It basically, we're still hoping for some county money. The letter looks at 2 alternative scenarios for the water project. The first is a borrowing of $13 million to fund the project. The second is a borrowing of $2.5 million, which assumes a contribution from the county of $2.5 million. Per the letter, the accountant's calculations indicate that a $2.5 million contribution from the county would reduce the required increase in our current user rates from 77.9% to 67.9%, 10%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that reduction results in a savings of about $182,734 a year, which over a 20-year bond, which is what we would do, is around $3.7 million, and that's basically distributed among all the users. So if we got the money, it would be great. The mayor and I plan on attending the joint meeting of the county later this evening. And like we've said in the past, we supply water to approximately 20,000 people throughout the county, and we're hoping that they see this benefit of the lower rates. But and if they come in with a different number, we'll have to go from there. But we're hoping that once we go tonight and sometime in January, we'll be moving forward. We'll get a finalized rate study and get this project underway. That's pretty much all.
Probably talk about the design aspects of this with our engineering firm, and that's already underway.
Yes, we've started the project. I mean, we haven't got the money yet, but we've started the project, and he's already under design. We had him do a preliminary 20-year study and assessment early on, so he could do the project. But we started the project back maybe 4 or 5 months ago, when I came and told you we were going to have to start the project, because we had to start the project because if we got the SWIFT grants, we had to be finished with the design by December 31st now. So we didn't get that, but we went ahead and started anyway. But that's why we're trying to keep moving forward, because if once, as well, I don't know if you all know, but to approve a loan and the bonding and all that, it takes several meetings. You can sometimes circumvent one of the meetings, but generally it takes at least a minimum of 3 meetings with the public hearing at the first meeting. That's correct, Joe, right?
Yes.
And so it's, even if we start in January, it's still probably going to be the end of February before we're ready to go, and that's optimistic, right?
So what do we do in the future to be proactive to make sure that we're not looking at a 68 to 78% increase? How do we
are setting
do
up
smaller increases every year, or can we
well,
do that?
the mayor and I have talked about that, but part of this increase is something that they didn't address the last time they raised rates. We're putting in a capital reserve fund, similar to you weren't here, but when we did the sewer rate increase, we created a capital reserve fund. So we're setting money aside each year to address some of the issues that we're addressing now. Granted, it won't be a fix-all because you're going to have inflation and other items that come up that, unforeseen events. But we're hopefully planning for the best and having to have money set aside so we can do these things, some of these things. You're going to have wear and tear on your buildings, and at some point, I don't know how long in the future, but generally, and the mayor and I have talked about this, you raise rates every 3 to 5 years, depending. But I mean, hopefully with the way we're setting this rate increase up, it's closer to 5 instead of 3. But with inflation skyrocketing now, it could be 3. I mean, I don't know.
So is it, and maybe this is more for Joe, is there a way to include inflation into that? Or, I mean, is it, leave it open for us to discuss this each year without a study, or what's the?
Well, you could discuss it each year if you wanted to. Now, I guess, but to put it in perspective, maybe Brian could talk about where our rates stand in comparison to other communities.
Right. We can't just arbitrarily raise rates. Since we are not governed by the IURC, we have to have a rate study, and we have to show that we need to raise rates. Now, granted, as low as our rates are, that was easy to do this time around. But each time, I'm fairly certain you have to have a rate study, and when you keep raising rates every 3 years, you're spending a lot of money to raise the rates. So you're spending a lot of money on lawyers, and our lawyers are expensive, not this lawyer, but the ones we use up in India. But I'm speaking the truth, aren't I, Joe? He's a fraction.
We just called you cheap.
But the accountants, I mean, the accountants and the lawyer bills are $100,000 every rate study. So you can't really, you'd rather do it like this, allocate money into, to me, 5 years would be better than 3. But like I said, I can't foresee the future any more than you could. And too many things can happen, especially with inflation. This past year, would anybody think we were going to have 10% inflation, or it's higher than that now? No, because before we had no inflation. Now we have huge inflation. But if I could see that future, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, but what are our rates?
Our rates,
Yeah, what are our rates kind of, from a perspective standpoint?
well, I've talked to some of them about that too. Like I said, a 3,000 gallon bill, which is our minimum bill for water, is $7.11. And for comparison, I've got a few on here. Greensburg, and I think these numbers are up to date, for 3,000 gallons in Greensburg, which is a similar city to us, similar size, very similar, it's $27.63. For Scottsburg, 3,000 gallons is $36.48. I mean, in Sellersburg, but they're all much higher, I mean, which is why we don't qualify for so many grants and everything. When you're paying so little for water, they view that as you need to increase your rates. If you need more revenue, we're not going to give you money when you're not charging your consumers enough to operate your system. And I don't disagree with that. Everybody knows, they live here, they know how low our utility rates are. I mean, go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add that we're being very thoughtful about this, which is why it's taking so long. We're looking for other resources to reduce the burden on our water user rates. We're looking for other sources in order to offset the cost. But there's really two elements of this current rate study that's making the increase so steep. Future rate increases won't be this steep. It's been 2008 since we last increased rates for our water.
Let me add something. And you're looking at a percentage, but when you know, if you're starting at $2, 100%'s $2. But if you're at $10 and 100%'s $10, so really we're going to have, like, per 1,000 gallons, we're probably looking at maybe $1.50 per 1,000 gallons increase, and spread out over 30 days in a month, you're looking at pennies. I mean, you percentages are very, when you deal with low numbers, percentages are very misleading. Because, you know, if our bill was really high, a 10% raise could be worse than a 67% rate raise when your rates are $2.47 at your highest tier. We're still keeping the 4-tier system. I don't know if I said that to you, because the 4th tier is primarily for our big retail users, but and for some of our big businesses.
A big impact on our rates is the cumulative effect of inflation. Inflation has been 32% since we last increased our rates. So one could look at this steepness is comprised of two ingredients. One is our future rates are going to fund a monthly capital replacement reserve. That will allow us to have the reserve to cover unexpected costs or some things that are expiring with regard to useful life. The other thing is it's taking care of that cumulative impact from inflation. As we started out this conversation, we got to figure out how do we protect ourselves from steep increases in the future. The way you do that is to have nominal rates along the way, rather than waiting 14 years to adjust your rates. Nobody does that. You know, the business will essentially do rate transfers or cost transfers immediately, because that's how sophisticated they are. We go through a process, and because of lag time and ordinances and political processes, we wait 12, 13, 14 years, and then now all of a sudden we have a huge percentage increase. And wrap your mind around this. We are delivering curbside trash, recycling, and compost for $2.46 a week per household. How many customers do you have to be able to afford to buy a new trash compactor truck, you have to have a lot. We're not even making up the ground there. Our TSO operations went up 40% with Rumpke. Rumpke is a business that can transfer those price increases right away. We have to pull back and do rate studies and then come through an ordinance process to do it. So we are always playing catch up, which is why the rate increase here seems steep. Nominally, when you get to the dollars and cents and you're looking at it compared to other communities our size, or even, you don't even have to go outside of Jefferson County to discover the fact that the city of Madison water, residential water customers are generally paying, a fourth of what somebody that lives outside the city is paying for water. But we can't also forestall capital investment in our water infrastructure, because water quality, distribution, storage, treatment is all important that you have to constantly reinvest in. And as we grow, and as we have a very robust economic development plan, both in the city and through the county's comprehensive plan, we got to be able to provide clean drinking water, sustainable water resources for those businesses that are literally using hundreds of millions of gallons a year. And we also have to be able to provide adequate fire suppression to keep our community safe. There's a lot wrapped into this. We really don't want people to get hung up on the percentage, even though that is a metric, but we're really trying to make up for lost time, and we're going to do it better in the future than it's been done in the past.
Right. Don't miss it. That's a lot of people think, oh, my bill is going to go up 77%. That's not true. It's only affecting the water portion of your bill, which Councilman Bartlett pointed out. We talked about that earlier. A lot of people they see that and they're thinking, oh, my bill's going to go up 70%. That's not true. Your bill's going to go up, if you use the minimum amount, it's going to go up like $5. And not 70% of your total bill, 70% of the water portion of your bill, which is all of your senior bills. The water portion is the minuscule part.
With rate increases, can we charge more to non-City of Madison residential customers?
We looked at that, but you have to do a totally different type of rate study. You have to justify that with your infrastructure, and that was going to be hard for us to do, since they're really, the people outside the city are basically right outside the city, and we don't really have a lot of extra infrastructure to justify a big rate increase. And the accountant advised us basically that's really not worth it, what you'd have to spend to get the little extra, even if, and you may do the study and may determine that, no, they shouldn't be charged extra. So we looked at that, we've looked at that before too. It's tough to justify because we're so concentrated with our water usage. Yeah, it's probably all within 3 miles of here, 4 miles maybe.
More to come on this topic. Early January, we'll start the first reading. After the rate study's completed, then we'll have really a full breakdown on all the revenue assumptions and rate tiers. And the other thing too that's guiding this is state statute. State statute says this is what you must do. There's a box, and we're following that methodically, but it's complicated and it's been a moving target. We hope. And we continue to ask for support from the Jefferson County Council and Jefferson County Commissioners to use ARPA money, which is intended by Congress for clean water and water infrastructure, asking them to support our project so we can offset the cost. And we're going to a joint meeting tonight asking again. But we'll have to continue to move forward.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. No bills on third or second reading. Miscellaneous, we'll open up now to public comments before I get into just some final thoughts on the agenda. Anybody here would like to address the City Council or Mayor's Office? You're welcome to do so now. Also want to welcome Leah Combs, who is a student here tonight, earning extra credit, by the way, showing her due diligence. And we also want to welcome her. She's with Mr. Barger's government class.
Dave Adams.
Welcome, Dave.
516 Mulberry. Good afternoon, Council. It's kind of nice. Don't usually can say that. And also Mayor.
I want to say thank you for all the wonderful lights. Madison has done a phenomenal job with the decorating and all the wonderful things. It's very welcoming to a lot of people. And the one thing I'm worried about, we're welcoming a lot of street people coming to town. That's a new trend. It seems to be getting worse. I don't know if it's a full moon, Chief, but I know the Chief's gotten a lot of calls. They're getting more aggressive. They're trying to open doors. They're stashing stuff around your homes. And they store things, especially the drugs and the other things. So we want citizens to really be alert. One quick nice thing we can do is turn on porch lights, and one of our new residents in our neighborhood, Lucy, has turned her lights on. Thank you very much. That way we keep it lighted front and back, and I can kind of see who's there. The police can see who's there. But as residents, we need to really step up and say, this person doesn't belong in our neighborhood. Those that want to be helped, we are helping. We've done apartments. Most of our street people have income coming in. And the ones that want to, we've done apartments, we'll feed them the Salvation Army, we take good care of them. The others that don't want to, they don't want to give up the drugs, give up the alcohol. They're going to kind of mooch off of things, and it's gotten really aggressive lately. We just had 2 separate occasions of homeless vets coming down to Madison, and we usually address that very quickly, try to find out if they've got DD-214s. The Jefferson County Veterans Council helps takes care of them. The American Legion, and Kayla and I put them up in hotels. We actually got a room for one, I paid for his whole month rent. We have other things, and they've all kind of disappeared. So I asked them, what are you doing in Madison? They said, well, one's in Indianapolis said, they said, why don't you go to Madison? I thought, what the heck? Why does that population kind of do that? We have a great reputation. Louisville right here is paying them to bring them up this way, because they're starting to clean their area up, which is amazing. So as a community, we really need to step forward. We can't rely on the police for all these stops. They're going out, they're trying to snowstorm, get them out of the shelter houses and the other things in the morning, so that when our tourists, when people walk, you don't have to step over speed people and other things like that. So, like I say, one thing to do is keep your porch lights on. If you see somebody, take pictures of them, let the police know what's going on. We only had 2 people as takers for the Salvation Army on a cold night, and one was Jason the Snake across the street there, and we had another guy that was just really homeless. That's the only one. They don't want to follow the rules. They don't want to do what they're supposed to, so they'll sleep on the street and they'll take advantage of you. But they're actually shaking doors and they're trying to break in. So I'm just asking people to please be careful. Turn your lights on. Turn up any information. Let the police know. But as neighbors, watch your neighborhood and make sure that you kind of control that. We've got to take our neighborhoods back. So I see bigger populations. I've been doing this thing for 40 years, and it's getting ridiculous now. So I just want people to be careful. Enjoy the holidays, but please be knowledgeable of what you have, people around your house, around your home, in the neighborhood. Make sure the older folks in your neighborhood are taken care of. That's what our neighborhood watches do. Just take care of your neighborhood, but please be active and be knowledgeable. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate it. Thanks for volunteering on the Salvation Army Board too. Anybody else?
Lisa Ferguson, I live at 718 East 2nd. Become friends with Carla now, I'm talking to Jim constantly. So last night was an active night in East End, let's just say that. Same thing Dave's going to do. We have a good neighborhood watch. I encourage whichever, I don't know who represents which end of where in town, I really don't know that. I just know Patrick is my representative, and I see Jim everywhere, and now Carla's the pickleball queen with my pickleball king husband. So talking to them, I was sending Carla messages last night about lots of activity that was going down on East 2nd. My aunt and uncle live next door to Patrick. They're totally think that this is still 1960, and they keep their doors unlocked. I'm calling my uncle constantly saying, don't answer the doors, it's not me out there. Do not, they sit with their door open. I'm trying to educate them more and more. So just want to reiterate to you all, however you communicate with whichever part of town you represent. Like Dave said, it's getting worse, they're getting brazen. They're not afraid to walk into somebody's home. We've had a meeting with Bob and John Wallace before in the East End Neighborhood Watch Group. The Castle Law stands. I think I need a sign at my house that says the Castle Law stands. I was reading a message from a friend who posted quite a lengthy thing last night. A terrifying night. She didn't sleep. I'm a person who can sleep, but when you read this and you love this town as much as we do. The last thing you want is to jump on your social media account where everybody sees it and see we were up all night terrified because these people are trying to get in your home. It's not enough for them now to sleep in the alley or sleep underneath Fireman's Park or sleep in a comfort station. And I've got pictures on my phone where they were shooting up drugs last week under there. I can't reiterate enough. Yes, we want to say everything positive about this town. We've got to do something before we lose control. One of our best friends works at the Department of Homeland Security. I was shocked last week because I don't know the state of Indiana. You can ask me about the 120 counties in Kentucky. I can tell you where they are. I don't know about Indiana. So when he said to me, Edinburgh is 56 miles from here, where they just dropped off all those immigrants, oh man, my jaw dropped. And Dave said, it's a real thing, Lisa. So, you know, I don't know what we can do to be proactive. I know our East End group is good and proactive. I just want to encourage you all, whoever you represent, maybe make them more aware. I mean, I want to live in Disney World too. I still believe I live in Disney World, but the reality is at night it's getting scary. So I won't read what Melanie posted. It's very scary when you find things and you wonder what their purpose of leaving them. What when you're finding zip ties and ropes, you're wondering, you know, what was their intent. So just to reiterate what Dave said, just all of us trying to be more aware and letting whoever you represent know. I think John Wallace is probably sick of all the text and pictures that he gets from all of us, but we're so grateful to have the police department that we have in town, and anything we can do to get them in the alleys or I just think that's huge. We all love the alleys, but we know it's not a good place either, so thank you all.
Thank you, Lisa. No, we're making a continued investment in public safety. We also have a partnership with the Salvation Army for the winter warming shelter, although there are rules they have to abide by to be there. And I believe the investment that we're making with NPD is, as well as a partnership with the neighborhood watch groups, is the key to keeping everyone safe. And that is about being aware of your surroundings.
Chief Wallace, could you please come forward and address your concerns?
I don't have the statistics on how many homeless people have been arrested, but I can assure you it's been quite a few. Our department is very proactive. You know, they're like anybody else. If they're breaking the law, they're going to jail. We have worked hard on you know, removing from sleeping in the parks after dark, getting ordinance that we can enforce. We'll certainly do that. You know, Madison, fortunately, but sometimes unfortunately, is a very welcoming community, full of great people. Some, you know, people are going to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, they do. You know, some people that come in here, they coming from Alaska or wherever. How do you end up here? You know, who knows? But that doesn't give them the right to go out and break any of our laws and ordinances. And I've instructed the officers, and I think they've done a really good job. And I'll try to get that year-end number in ballpark, but we have zero tolerance for this type of activity. So I would encourage anyone. Just described here, if you see suspicious activity, you know, call immediately, call right away. Somebody's trying to get in your house and rattling your door knob, call 911. Because, you know, those are type of threats that are very serious. You're out in the alley, you're out in the street, or even breaking into your car is one thing, but if somebody's trying to get into your house, and that's a totally different ballgame. So, you know, we encourage those calls, we encourage any information. The East End Block Watch Group, we have one on the West End as well. The mayor and I have met with in the past, and they're very good about calling us and sending us pictures and information. And I can assure you our detectives and our department will follow up on it. So keep those calls, keep that information coming. I personally, and a lot of the officers do, try to find out if we see a new face in town. You know, we find out who they are and you know, make sure they're not wanted and see what what information we can gather. But a lot of it's mental illness. You know, a lot of it's drug abuse. A lot of it's a combination of both. So dealing with some unstable people, and you can't let your guard down for a second. So I'm not going to say all homeless people are unstable. I'm not going to say all homeless people are bad people. They're not. But, you know, a lot of times we can see the association with drugs and and the mental illness. So we want you to be cautious, and when you do address them and you want to help them out, I mean, I get that, but you got to be careful because they're going to take, not all of them, but some will take advantage of it. It can be dangerous for you. So some take that as an act of weakness, and they carry it further. So I would encourage all of our citizens to be careful and contact us should they see anything or detect any kind of a suspicious activity.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you for all those comments. I'll be brief. I'll just mention that probably by late January or early February, we'll do a recap of 2021. There'll be probably in the form of another State of the City address that I'm required to do annually. Talk about things we've done as well as the financial position for the city. There's also quite a few priorities we already know that are queued up for next year. We talked about the Jefferson County Clean Water Project. Redistricting is something that we are mandated to do by state statute by no later than November the 8th of next year. That's something we really need to have finished by summer. That could take several months to work through. We're also now continuing to work through the maze of requirements COVID related. There's a vaccine mandate that will impact the city. We're still trying to more fully understand the cost and the implementation of the compliance matters. If that continues, and most likely it'll be resolved in Supreme Court, we will have to implement that in compliance with OSHA requirements. And some of those requirements are pretty lengthy, and there's going to be probably a pretty significant price tag attached to complying with the vaccine mandate. Our plans for blight elimination are going to take a huge leap forward here very soon. We will announce the recruiting of a full-time code enforcement officer soon. It will begin at the first of the year, and that person will work hand in hand with Nicole in the Building and Planning Department and our new Executive Director for Economic Development to continue with our economic development priorities and continue to invest and expand in PACE for preservation, the blight elimination. And you might have already seen some activity at Hilltop Shopping Center. There is some significant work underway, plans that we've been working on for 2 years that have been kind of dragged down because of COVID. Will have some material progress here very, very shortly. So the first step is to clean up that lot up there, which if you drive by there now, you'll see that it is almost completely clean. But a lot of the priorities that we've established through the course of our planning in the last couple of years and with Ready, we've talked about the $50 million award to our region. We'll bring our economic development priorities to fruition, and they're going to be transformational for our community. I'll leave it there, but I look forward to working with you guys. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. We'll have our like I said, we'll get together and talk about our legislative priorities, and there is a plethora of things for us already to work on, but I'm also looking forward to reviewing 2021 with you and talking about some of the significant steps that we've made to keep moving Madison forward. Next council meeting will be January 4th, 2021 already.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Just anyone? Thanks, everyone.